Welcome to Whispered Tales. Today, we uncover the real story of Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, from his humble beginnings to global stardom. Elvis Aaron Presley was born on January 8, 1935, in Tupelo, Mississippi, to Vernon and Gladys Presley. His early life was far from glamorous. His family struggled financially, living in a small two-room house. Despite their poverty, Elvis's childhood was filled with love and close family ties. His mother, Gladys, was especially devoted to him, a bond that would profoundly shape his life. From a young age, Elvis was drawn to music. He grew up listening to gospel music at church and blues in the local community. The sounds of African-American musicians in Tupelo left a lasting impression on him, blending with his own Southern roots to form a unique musical sensibility. His first guitar, a simple gift from his parents, became his constant companion, and he spent hours learning chords, singing along,
School
and
life
practicing
was
relentlessly.
challenging for young Elvis. He was shy, often bullied, and didn't fit in with other children. Music became his escape, a way to express himself when words alone were not enough. Even as a teenager, he would perform at local events and church gatherings, slowly gaining recognition for his talent. But Tupelo was a small town, and the opportunities for a young musician were limited. It was clear that if Elvis wanted to chase his dreams, he would need to step beyond the boundaries of his hometown. His family's move to Memphis, Tennessee in 1948 marked a turning point. In Memphis, Elvis would encounter a world that challenged him, inspired him, and ultimately transformed him into the cultural phenomenon the world would soon know.
Memphis, Tennessee was a city alive with music, and for Elvis, it was like stepping into a treasure trove. The vibrant sounds of Beale Street, from blues to gospel to early R&B, surrounded him, further shaping his musical style. Elvis quickly became a regular at local music stores, borrowing records whenever he could and absorbing every sound. It was during this time that he began performing at local talent shows and radio stations, catching the attention of small audiences who were captivated by his unique blend of country, gospel, and rhythm and blues.
In 1953, a defining moment came when Elvis walked into Sun Studio, a small recording studio run by Sam Phillips. What started as a personal recording session, a gift for his mother, turned into the opportunity that would change his life. Sam Phillips recognized something extraordinary in Elvis, something that could bridge the gap between black and white audiences with a sound that was entirely new. By 1954, Elvis was recording professionally at Sun Studio. His first single, That's All Right, recorded with guitarist Scotty Moore and bassist Bill Black, was a raw, energetic fusion of blues and country. When the song aired on local radio, it caused a sensation. People were intrigued, some even scandalized, by his energetic style, gyrating hips, and emotive voice. But there was no denying it. Elvis had arrived. Elvis's early performances were marked by a magnetic stage presence. Fans were drawn not just to his voice, but to his charisma and energy. He had a natural ability to connect with people through music, conveying emotion and excitement in a way few artists could. As word spread, his reputation grew. By the mid-1950s, Elvis had become a regional star, performing at larger venues and appearing on national radio shows. However, success didn't come without challenges. Some radio stations and critics condemned his music as provocative and even immoral, largely because it drew heavily from African-American musical traditions. Yet, Elvis remained undeterred. His passion for music, combined with a determination to rise above criticism, fueled his rapid ascent. By the time he released his early hits, it was clear that Elvis Presley was not just another musician, he was the beginning of a revolution in popular music. The world was about to witness the birth of a phenomenon that would forever change the landscape of American culture. By 1955, Elvis Presley's talent was undeniable, and the music industry began to take serious notice. His manager, Colonel Tom Parker, recognized the potential to turn Elvis into a national sensation. Parker's strategic approach to marketing and promotion, though often controversial, played a pivotal role in propelling Elvis from a regional talent to a household name. In 1956, Elvis signed with RCA Records, marking a major milestone in his career. His first RCA single, Heartbreak Hotel, released in January, was an instant smash. It soared to the top of the charts, and the world began to take notice of this young man from Mississippi with the electrifying voice and the captivating stage presence. Suddenly, Elvis was everywhere, on the radio, in magazines, and on television screens across America. Television appearances, especially on shows like The Ed Sullivan Show, showcased Elvis to a wider audience. Millions of viewers were captivated by his energy, his moves, and his raw emotion. Some critics were shocked, calling his performance provocative, yet the public's fascination only grew stronger. Teenagers idolized him, parents worried about his influence, and Elvis found himself at the center of a cultural phenomenon that transcended music. His style was unlike anything seen before. Elvis combined elements of gospel, rhythm and blues, and country music, creating a sound that was fresh and rebellious. His signature gyrating hips and charismatic presence became his trademarks, symbolizing a youthful rebellion and freedom that resonated deeply with the post-war generation. During this time, Elvis also began filming movies, starting with Love Me Tender in 1956. While initially a marketing strategy to promote his music, the films solidified his image as a multi-talented entertainer. Although some critics dismissed the movies as formulaic, fans flocked to theaters, further cementing Elvis's status as an icon. Despite the rapid rise, fame came with its own pressures. Elvis had to navigate intense public scrutiny, rigorous schedules, and the weight of enormous expectations. Yet his love for music and performing never waned. With every concert, record, and movie, Elvis Presley continued to captivate audiences, proving that he was not just a passing trend, but a transformative figure in American culture. By the late 1950s,
It was clear. Elvis Presley was no longer just a talented singer from Memphis. He had become the king of rock and roll, a symbol of youthful energy, passion, and change that would influence generations to come.
At the height of his fame, Elvis Presley faced a turning point that would challenge him both personally and professionally: military service. In 1958, despite being the king of rock and roll, Elvis received his draft notice from the United States Army. While many celebrities tried to avoid service, Elvis accepted it with a sense of duty, determined to serve his country just like any other young American.
Elvis arrived at Fort Hood, Texas, for basic training, where he quickly adapted to military life. Though accustomed to fame and privilege, he demonstrated humility and respect toward his fellow soldiers. His presence drew attention. News outlets covered his every move, and fellow servicemen were both excited and sometimes overwhelmed to be serving alongside a cultural icon. Despite the constant spotlight, Elvis worked hard to meet the demands of military life, understanding that his actions were being watched closely by the public.
In 1959, after completing his active service, Elvis was stationed in Germany. It was here that his life took another significant turn. While living in Bad Nauheim, he met Priscilla Beaulieu, a young German woman who would later become a central figure in his personal life. Their relationship began while he was still in uniform, and despite the challenges of distance and public attention, their bond deepened over time.
Returning to the United States, Elvis faced the challenge of re-entering a music industry that had evolved in his absence. Rock and roll had changed, new stars had emerged, and audiences had grown accustomed to a rapidly shifting landscape. The pressure to maintain his dominance weighed heavily on him. At the same time, he struggled with personal issues, including loneliness, the constant demands of fame, and the strain of maintaining public image versus private life.
Elvis's style also began to shift during this period. While he returned to recording, his music increasingly incorporated elements of ballads, gospel, and more mature themes, reflecting the changes in his own life. Though still adored by fans, he felt the tension between commercial expectations and his artistic ambitions. The early 1960s marked a delicate balance for Elvis. He was at once a global superstar and a man seeking normalcy, grappling with fame, relationships, and the pressures that came with being an icon. His time in the military and subsequent struggles revealed the human side of the legend, the vulnerability, dedication, and resilience that defined not just the king of rock and roll, but the man behind the music. After returning from military service, Elvis Presley faced a new chapter in his life: Hollywood. The late 1950s and 1960s saw him immerse himself in the film industry, starring in a series of movies that would define a large part of his career. Films like G.I. Blues, 1960, Blue Hawaii, 1961, and Viva Las Vegas, 1964, showcased his charm, charisma, and musical talent. While some critics dismissed these films as formulaic or commercial, audiences loved them, and Elvis became a box office draw, with his movies often accompanied by hit soundtracks.
However, Hollywood was a double-edged sword. The relentless schedule of filming, promotion, and music recording left Elvis with little personal freedom. He was constantly in the public eye, and the pressure to maintain his image as a heartthrob and entertainer weighed heavily on him. Despite this, Elvis's dedication to his craft never faltered. He poured his energy into perfecting his performances, blending his music with acting, and creating memorable cinematic moments.
By the mid-1960s, as rock and roll evolved and new artists emerged, Elvis found himself needing a musical comeback. The British invasion, led by bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, had shifted popular music dramatically. Though Elvis remained a legend, his career required reinvention to remain relevant. This reinvention came in 1968 with the '68 Comeback Special, a televised performance that marked a dramatic return to his roots. Wearing black leather and performing with raw intensity, Elvis reminded the world why he had earned the title of the King of Rock and Roll. The special was a critical and commercial success, reigniting interest in his music and proving that his talent and stage presence were timeless.
Following the special, Elvis focused on live performances, particularly in Las Vegas. His concerts became legendary events, known for their energy, showmanship, and emotional intensity. Fans flocked from around the world to witness his performances, mesmerized by the combination of his voice, charisma, and magnetic stage presence. Songs like Suspicious Minds, Burning Love, and In the Ghetto became iconic, showcasing a mature artist capable of blending pop, rock, and soul in ways that resonated with audiences of all ages. Despite the glitz of Hollywood and the grandeur of Las Vegas, Elvis remained deeply connected to his roots. He never forgot Tupelo or Memphis, and he often returned to his hometown and to Graceland, his beloved mansion in Memphis, which became a sanctuary from the demands of fame. This balance between the pressures of celebrity life and his personal grounding reflected the complexity of Elvis's life. A man loved by millions, yet searching for stability, connection, and authenticity in a world that never stopped watching him.
While Elvis Presley's public life was marked by fame, music, and dazzling performances, his private life was more complicated and often tumultuous. Despite the adoration of millions of fans, he experienced loneliness and challenges that few could understand. Relationships, family, and personal struggles were a constant part of his journey, shaping the man behind the superstar. One of the most significant relationships in Elvis's life was with Priscilla Beaulieu, whom he met while stationed in Germany during his military service. Their romance was deeply scrutinized by the media, but it was also a meaningful connection for Elvis. The two married in 1967 at the Presleys' home in Las Vegas, in a ceremony that captured the fascination of the public. They welcomed a daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, in 1968, bringing immense joy to Elvis's life. Yet the pressures of fame, demanding schedules, and personal differences eventually strained the marriage, leading to their divorce in 1973. Elvis's personal challenges extended beyond relationships. The intense demands of his career, coupled with the pressures of fame, took a toll on his health and well-being. He struggled with insomnia, weight fluctuations, and dependence on prescription medications, which later impacted his physical and emotional health. Despite these challenges, Elvis remained committed to his fans and his music, often performing even when he felt unwell, demonstrating both his dedication and the heavy burdens of stardom.
Family was always central to Elvis's life. His bond with his mother, Gladys, remained strong throughout her life, and her death in 1958 deeply affected him. His father, Vernon, was a stabilizing presence, but often found himself navigating the complexities of Elvis's fame and finances. Even as he faced personal struggles, Elvis sought comfort in his family and close friends, building a support network that helped him navigate the highs and lows of life in the spotlight. Elvis also used his influence to help others. He was known for his generosity, often giving to charities, supporting children's hospitals, and quietly helping those in need. Yet, despite his wealth and fame, he never fully escaped the pressures of being constantly in the public eye. The juxtaposition of immense success and personal vulnerability was a defining feature of his life, illustrating that behind the glamour and accolades was a man trying to find balance, meaning, and happiness in a world that demanded perfection from its icons.
By the 1970s, Elvis Presley's life was a mix of triumphs and struggles. His performances remained spectacular, with sold-out concerts in Las Vegas and around the world. But behind the scenes, he faced mounting health challenges. Years of relentless touring, late-night performances, and dependency on prescription medications began to take a toll. The king, once full of energy and vitality, started experiencing fatigue, weight gain, and other health issues that worried his friends and family. Despite these challenges, Elvis continued to perform with remarkable dedication. His concerts were more than music. They were experiences. Fans marveled at his charisma, the emotion in his voice, and the way he could connect with every person in the audience. Songs like Always on My Mind, Burning Love, and Unchained Melody captured the hearts of audiences, showing that his talent remained undeniable, even as his body struggled to keep pace with his legendary energy. Elvis also sought to give back through his fame. He made numerous charitable contributions, often quietly, without seeking publicity. He donated to hospitals, children's charities, and organizations supporting those in need. This side of Elvis, the compassionate, generous man, remained largely hidden from the media, but it reflected the depth of his character beyond the stage and silver screen. Tragically, on August 16, 1977, Elvis Presley passed away at his Graceland mansion in Memphis, Tennessee. His death shocked the world. Millions mourned the loss of the king of rock and roll, whose music, style, and influence had reshaped modern culture. Yet, even in death, his legacy continued to grow. Fans from across the globe visited Graceland to pay tribute, and his music continued to top charts, inspiring new generations of musicians and fans. Elvis's life, though marked by fame and success, also reminds us of the human struggles that come with extraordinary talent. His journey, from a small-town boy in Tupelo Aid to a global icon, was filled with triumphs, challenges, love, and heartbreak. The King of Rock and Roll's story is not just about music. It's about resilience, passion, and the pursuit of dreams against all odds. Elvis Presley's story did not end with his passing. His influence on music, culture, and society continues to be felt decades later. Often called the King of Rock and Roll, Elvis broke barriers between musical genres, blending gospel, country, blues, and R&B into a sound that was entirely his own. He inspired countless artists, from the Beatles and Bob Dylan to modern pop stars, showing that true innovation comes from embracing one's roots while daring to be different.
Graceland, his iconic home in Memphis, has become a pilgrimage site for fans from around the world. Visitors walk the halls, see his memorabilia, and gain a glimpse into the life of a man who captured hearts with every note he sang. But beyond the fame and the mansion lies the story of a boy from Tupelo who dared to dream, whose passion and perseverance transformed him into a legend.
Elvis's story also reminds us of the complexities of life. Fame brought glory, but also immense pressure. Love and family brought joy, but also heartbreak. Health struggles tested him, yet he continued to perform and give joy to millions. His life was a balance of triumph and vulnerability, a reminder that even the greatest stars are human. Today, new generations continue to discover Elvis's music, watching old films, listening to his records, and feeling the energy of his performances. His songs remain timeless, his style remains iconic, and his story remains a source of inspiration. From his first guitar in Tupelo to the bright lights of Las Vegas, Elvis Presley's journey embodies the power of talent, determination, and the courage to follow one's dreams. Thank you for joining us on Whispered Tales as we explored the real story of Elvis Presley. If you enjoyed this journey through the life of the King of Rock and Roll, please subscribe to our channel. Next time, we'll bring you more fascinating stories that inspire, intrigue, and captivate. Until then, keep listening, keep dreaming, and remember, the world is full of stories waiting to be told.